back to That Average Joe podcast. Of course, I'm your host here, Joe, and today we're talking Oprah Winfrey and Kamala Harris. They recently had a sit down, and we're here to talk about a couple of the things that they discussed. I also have here Kamala Harris's plans. I got them straight off her website, so we're going to go over them. But first things first, let's talk about Oprah Winfrey. So she's been a very controversial figure.
Everyone thinks Oprah is one of the most loving people on earth, but is she really?
McGowan has put Oprah on blast.
He seemingly suggested in the caption that Oprah knew the Hollywood producer was mistreating women.
And if we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost this moment.
With the incident in Maui, with the Maui wildfires, and she asked the people to donate. People are asking, hey, you're worth almost $3 billion.
Learned about what was happening in Maui.
This is what you do. The People's Fund of Maui.
Her show, she had plenty of doctors and physicians who gave, what some could consider skeptical medical advice. Been criticized for having sensationalized stories.
I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat. I shared with her that me and my mother was not talking. I shared with her I was hurt. I don't need the world seeing how greedy my mother is. So to put our brother Michael Jackson, I'll say try to taint that man's legacy, and he can't defend himself. Who does that?
In a sense, Oprah will say what Oprah wants to say to get the interview, and she's done that to our family.
She's also been criticized for her school in Africa, where there's been a lot of alleged cases of abuse. And people are also asking, what has she actually done? Now let's get into the sit down that they have. People don't feel that they are getting
super powerful exchange.
As we have 47 days until November 5th, what's on your heart?
Freedom to be who you are and just be, to love who you love openly and with pride. Freedom to just be.
Yeah, I don't think Oprah had any idea what she meant.
Just to recap, stop dancing around the issue. Answer the question. If you're going to do an interview, answer a question that you are asked at the interview.
All right. So people were able to phone in and ask direct questions to the VP, and many feel that she struggled to answer them directly and even had to have Oprah interject to help finish the question.
We really would love to know what your plan is to help lower the cost of living.
Yeah, first of all, thank you both for being here. And yours is a story I hear around the country as I travel. And in terms of both rightly having the right to have aspirations and dreams and ambitions for your family, and working hard and finding that the American dream is, for this generation and so many recently, far more elusive than it's been. And we need to deal with that. And there are a number of ways. One is bringing down the cost of everyday necessities, including groceries.
I'm going to help her here, and I'm going to actually go over what's listed on her website. Cannot say that when I went on the website, it directly said, I'm going to do this. This is how I'm going to do it. A lot of it is just, we're going to cut taxes. We're going to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share.
And innovation. So let us be clear. Billionaires and big corporations must pay their fair share in taxes.
Peter to pay Paul. We're going to take from the rich to give to the poor or to the middle class. And to, everybody has their own feelings toward that. What is our budget? Do we actually have a budget, or it's just kind of like on a rolling basis? And if we need money, we can just print the money. Or if something comes up, we'll just, create it out of thin air in a sense. But she wants to cut taxes for the middle class family, which is the $6,000 child tax credit.
We'll call for a $6,000 tax credit for parents of newborns. That on top of the federal ban.
And she anticipates on not raising the tax rate for the middle class. She wants to roll back Trump's tax cuts. and ensure that no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay more in taxes. The $6,000 child tax credit is only for the first year, and then it reverts right back to the $3,000. So it does help you initially, but long term, it's going to be the same as it always has been. And if we're not going to increase the taxes on the middle class, then who are we, or where are we going to get this money?
Billionaires and big corporations must pay their fair share in taxes.
Make rent more affordable and home ownership more attainable. That's where she came with the $25,000 in down payment assistance and a comprehensive plan to build more than 3 million rental properties.
President Kamala Harris says a huge part of her economic plan is to increase the number of affordable homes. She is proposing an incentive of up to $25,000 for first-time home buyers.
The critiques of the $25,000 down payment assistance is that it's just going to essentially increase the cost of their homes. She anticipates on growing small businesses and entrepreneurs. That's where she stated that she was going to expand startup expense tax deduction for new businesses.
So, part of my plan is we will expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000. It's essentially
with this is how it's framed. It's more so when she explains it, it's that the government gives you $5,000 to start your business, and now they're going to give you $50,000, and it's no, you still have to do everything to start your own business. All the upfront costs, all the fees, everything. You have to start up your own business, and then once it comes to the end of the year, it will give you an opportunity to write off more things and give you more tax deductions, but it still doesn't help with the initial startup, which is the back end of it. But if I don't have the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, or there are so many loopholes or barriers to entry, how are we going to combat that aspect? This was going to take on the bad actors. This was going to take the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging on food and groceries.
As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
Major critique of this one is who are the actual people price gouging. We want them to be actually named, and how are they actually price gouging? If we can say that we have record levels of inflation, how are they price gouging? If the price of everything has gone up, they have to meet that price in order for them to make money. But it's not to say that sometimes businesses aren't gonna tack on a little bit more so that they can increase their profits, but let us know who is doing that. So hey, maybe we can choose to not support them and strengthen and bring down the cost of healthcare. This is the $2,000 cap on out-of-pocket spending for seniors. Extend medical postpartum coverage from 2 months to 12. I can't hate on that. I think that's pretty good. We the ones, very most vulnerable. So we do need to look out for them. Protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicaid. She plans to do this by making millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share of taxes. Again,
billionaires and big corporations must pay their fair share in taxes.
Robbing Peter to pay Paul theory. Provide a pathway to the middle class through quality, affordable education. She plans to strengthen public education and training, invest in community colleges, scale up programs that create good career paths for non-college graduates, help deliver the largest investment in public education, $170 billion in student debt relief, record investments to HBCUs, tribal college, and Hispanic serving institutions, and increase the Pell Grant Award. I'm all up for education reform. I don't know what we're going to do about the student loan and this whole trying to push student loan forgiveness, because that's what they kind of tempted and dangled in our faces before, but we do know a lot of the government's revenue is funded by federal student loans, so I don't know how they're gonna be able to forgive such a big portion of the budget. To invest in affordable childcare, high quality home care services for seniors with disabilities, and ensuring hardworking families can afford high quality child care, all while ensuring that care workers are paid a living wage and treated with dignity and respect that they deserve. So not an exact concrete plan of how she is going to enact that, but just like, hey, I plan to do it. Like, I plan to expand and give everybody high quality child care, lower energy costs, and tackle the climate crisis. She cast a tie-breaking vote to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, and she made the largest investment in climate action history. But we don't know if she plans to ban fracking or not ban fracking. That is still up for debate.
No question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
2019, you said, quote, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania. Sure. Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban.
You know, Trump is always saying, drill, baby, drill.
Lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill.
Also, she brought up the Trump 2025 agenda.
Project 2025 is a plan to return America to a dark past. Donald Trump and his extreme allies want to take our nation back to failed trickle-down economic policies, back to union busting, back to tax breaks for billionaires. Donald Trump and his allies want to cut Medicare and Social Security, to stop student loan forgiveness for teachers and other public servants. And I say to AFT, they even want to eliminate the Department of Education.
And we know that Trump has constantly and been very consistent in saying that he has no plans on the Project 2025, but on her page, it's labeled as Trump Project 2025 agenda. Presidential control to implement his destructive agenda, including another handout to his billionaire friends and giant corporations. His plans would increase costs for families by at least $3,900 a year by slapping on a Trump sales tax on imported everyday goods that families rely on, like gas, food, clothing, and medicine. Trump would raise rents and add $1,200 a year to the typical American mortgage. Trump asked big oil executives to give his campaign money so he could roll back regulations and cut taxes for big oil to produce their profits. And Trump's plans would push gas prices up. Trump's economic plans would also trigger a recession by mid-2025, cost over 3 million jobs, threaten hundreds of thousands of clean energy jobs, increase the debt by over $5 trillion, send inflation skyrocketing, and hurt everyone but the richest Americans. This is verbatimly from her page. But again, Trump has denounced the 2025 agenda and stated that that isn't anything that he plans to implement, but she does constantly tie it to him. And I wish the people who did create come out and say like, hey, no, Trump didn't say anything. This is just our plan, but you know, they need the promo. Restore and protect reproductive freedom. I think this is the biggest one.
And now more than 20 states have Trump abortion bans. Extremists that have passed laws that criminalize healthcare providers, doctors, and nurses, and punish women. In 2 states of those states, they provide for prison for life. Prison for life for healthcare providers for simply providing reproductive care, the care.
Tim Walz led Minnesota to become the first state to pass a law protecting a woman's right to choose following the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris has traveled across America and heard the hundreds of stories heard by Trump abortion bans. So Trump has just, the Roe versus Wade overturn was just now giving states rights to make their own choices on whether they choose to have abortion or not. We only come out during every 4 years for our president. But we have so many state and local elections that we do not pay attention to. And those are the leaders that truly affect our day-to-day lives. If you want abortion in your state, go ahead and vote for it. Supreme Court justices that overturned this, they did not feel that it was the government's responsibility to have a federal abortion law. So they gave that power and they bestowed that over to the states for them to make those choices. I have so many other pressing issues that I see why he decided to delegate that on elsewhere. And it's something that people do all the time. If you can't handle it or you don't feel that you're the best person to make that executive decision, you will allocate it over to someone else or another team or another group of people who would be better served to answer and help those who are directly affected. That is a very polarizing topic, especially in the election, and it's really a deciding factor for a lot of people whether they are going to vote for Trump or Kamala. They are not liking that Trump, did that the overturn of the Roe versus civil rights and freedom. Her administration will also continue to protect Americans from discrimination, building on her work to secure $2 billion in funding for offices of civil rights across federal government. And she'll fight to pass the Equality Act to enshrine anti-discrimination protections for the LGBTQI plus Americans in healthcare, housing, education, and more into law. Much to say about that. I guess she's going to protect our rights. Make communities safer from gun violence and crime. So the Second Amendment has been also very controversial, especially with all of the recent school incidences that have occurred, and people are feeling that we need to we need a reform on our gun laws. But Kamala Harris has surprisingly come out and said that she is a gun owner.
No, at the debate.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes.
If you've been watching the news or been online recently, it's been noted that our crime rates have been going down, and people don't feel that the crime has been going down, and maybe that it's unreported or that people aren't being charged for the crimes that they are committed and basically getting a slap on the wrist, or officers are just turning a side eye. And because also we have lost a lot of our police force, especially after the incidences of 2020.
The first is, let's talk about the police. The police in city after city, whether it's LA, whether it's Chicago, whether it's New York, they are demoralized by this lie that they are engaging in systemic racism against minorities, that they're using deadly force against minorities just because they're black. And they're no longer engaging in proactive policing. They're not engaging in some form of stop, question, and frisk, which happened under the Giuliani regime in New York, that caused a deep decline in crime. Even Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the Democrat mayor of Chicago, even said when he was mayor that the Chicago police had, quote, gone fetal, close quote, meaning they weren't engaging in proactive policing. The second big theme, of course, is soft on crime policies, soft on crime governors like the one in California, soft on crime DAs. Gavin Newsom bragged during COVID that he released 8,000 convicted felons. Some of them were violent.
The officers that are on the field right now, they are very overworked, and they are responding to multitude of incidences, and they're not able to get to everything. Especially a lot of retail theft has been going unreported, or it's like, is it crime rates are down, or is the reporting of crime down? The next big issue is to secure our borders and fix our broken immigration system. So we know that millions upon millions have entered the United States, and they are not illegal due to the laws that have been put in place. But Trump feels that we need to have a mass deportation because we're just allowing just any and everybody, and they were not doing background checks. A lot of these people are unvetted. They're coming in, they're committing crimes, and they're housing. They need medical assistance. They need to be, integrated in our school system. And we all know that our school systems, our Medicare, and our housing systems are all overstressed as is. So we couldn't take on, maybe 100,000 or maybe even 200,000, let alone millions upon millions. It's stated as it's at least about 10 million, if not more.
From Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually
is already, at its wit's end. How are we able to support more people? That's what I was saying earlier with this magical money and how they're able to create money when they feel that it's necessary. That's neither here nor there. She plans to tackle the opioid and fentanyl crisis. She plans to ensure no one is above the law, stand with our allies, and stand up to dictators and lead on the world stage. So this is another one that I feel like people have an issue with, is that they don't feel that she is the best representative on the world stage.
I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the
history. That they feel is a strong leader, and a lot of people don't feel, especially with her laughs and constantly giggling.
Just fell out of a coconut tree.
Hello.
I want to talk to you. Okay, I can first.
What? They want to know now.
You said
We're there after two.
The seemingly unseriousness that she'd be a good fit to be on the world stage with, the Russian leaders, with North Korea, and with any of our, other adversaries. People don't feel that she'd be the one to be able to, not push us into World War III. These are just the opinions. To invest in America's sources of strength. So the last thing on her list is to support service members, veterans, their families, and caregivers and survivors. We'll fight to end veteran homelessness, investing in mental health and suicide prevention efforts, and eliminating barriers to employment and expanding economic opportunity for military and veteran families. A Harris-Walz administration will continue to ensure that service members, veterans, and their families receive the benefits they have earned. I agree here that we do need to be looking out for our veterans. It's truly sad to see that they have been seemingly thrown by the wayside and that their homelessness rate is increasing. We do need to look out for our veterans because they're the ones that have served our country. And what does it say to the up-and-coming people, up-and-coming future service members that, like, hey, come join us, but once you get old, we won't take care of you. So that could be, a discouraging factor. So we'd want to, eliminate that. We want to let the people know we take care of our people to the fullest extent, and those who service us, we're going to take care of you. The resources you get to first, and we're not going to push you to the wayside to take care of other people who haven't served our country in the capacity in which you have. So this is the Kamala Harris agenda. This is comes directly from her campaign website. What do you think about this? Do you think that she is actually going to put forth? What do you think about these plans? Do you think that they are viable? Do you think she'd be able to actually implement them? Do you think that these plans would actually work for you, that they benefit you, or maybe even not necessarily just you, maybe the people around you? Not everything has to be about you and it only directly benefiting you. What about other people? And which of these policies speaks directly to you? And also, don't worry, we are going to go over the Trump policy, and we're also going to go over Jill Stein's, just because I found hers to be quite interesting. It's very lengthy. The one thing I can say about hers is that it is the most thoroughly explained between Trump, Harris, and Stein. Hers is like 30 pages. I was going through it. I was like, oh my God, like Jesus Christ. But thank you for staying tuned with us for another episode of That Average Joe podcast. Stay tuned for more.